Has anybody heard of the hero's journey before? And how it relates? Normally, hero's journey is almost solely applies to world building. So this is the same path that George Lucas took in creating Luke's journey in Star Wars. He built the entire trilogy around this idea. And I'm also doing a bunch of podcasting, so I've been creating my own world within that, and it's brought me to start reading a lot more about this, and I realize it's very relevant to what you guys are going to be doing on the 14th and what you guys have been doing this entire time. Because the reality is, building a business is very much like a hero's journey, where you realize there's a problem. And the realization normally doesn't come at you like, oh, hey, this is something that I've been thinking about for a really long time, and now I just finally found a solution. But no, it generally hits you all at once that there is a problem and you can solve it. From that point, it's the realization that, yes, this is a real problem, and yes, I actually do need to solve it. And in the hero's journey, like you would experience in Star Wars, it would be the moment where Luke's parents are killed. Everybody here seen Star Wars? No? Some? No? Okay. Basically, any movie you have, it's the moment where the hero's journey is catalyzed. It's the moment where the hero has a point and they go, I need to solve this problem now. And
usually something like bad happens, right? That forces the hero in to take action.
Exactly. And this is your problem statement. Your problem statement is you writing out exactly that point. What is it that you realized was the problem that caused you to leap into action to solve this?
Like the breaking point.
Exactly. Now, at the end of this, you are going to be at number 5, crossing the threshold. That's what happens on April 14th. So you think you have a solution for your problem. You think you know what you're doing. And our job on the 14th, as a whole group, because yes, competition, there's money involved, that's all wonderful, but the reality is we're all in this together to present the best possible business plans we can. And so your job is to describe to them how you're going to deal with all of this. i.e., how are you going to deal with everything going wrong? How are you going to deal with the moment where somebody else enters into the market and you realize you have real competition and things are going to go horribly wrong? How are you prepared for that? How are you going to describe to people that that's the moment you've prepared for and you're ready to take on? That's the point of this. The point of the pitch is not to say, I'm building this thing, it solves this problem, here's why you should give me money. The point of the pitch is to say, I realized this was a problem. So I found a solution, which is this. It solves the problem for this number of people. Now, I reasonably think, I've done some research, and I think these are the issues I'm going to have, and this is the amount of money I need to overcome said issues. And here's the team I've built to help me overcome those issues together. That's the purpose of the pitch. So I'm going to dive into my own pitch in a minute, at which point I want you guys to give me a 1 through 5 on how you thought it was. But before I do that, I'm going to explain the same criteria you're going to be judged on in the pitch competition. First things first. What's first? Problem statement. So, is there a problem the company is trying to solve clearly stated? i.e., what is actually wrong in the marketplace?
So you guys literally are holding in your hands like what the judges are going to be filling out in 2 weeks. so it should be super helpful so there's no surprises.
So everybody knows, our judges next 2 weeks, on April 14th, we have the Chief Revenue Officer for a VR company, for Live Planet VR. We have the Managing Director of the Techstars Incubator in Connecticut. We have the former head of an advertising agency who now runs one of the largest business-to-business female-led podcasts in the country. And we also have an angel investor who is very, very successful in the late 90s, early 2000s in getting businesses funded and launched, and has been doing this for, well, close to 35 years. And then we have the head of a 3D printing, the head of operations for a 3D printing company out in Bushwick. Yeah. So an angel investor, you can think about it this way. Angel investors, yeah, they're your first round. So they're the people you go to. These are just random rich people, basically. That's how I think of them. That's how every person I know who goes to get money from them thinks of them. These are people who have a lot of money and sometimes like to give it to people to see what happens. But that said, taking on any investor is a serious proposition. The moment you take on an investor, you are no longer the boss. They have, in most cases, they will come to you and they will say, here's what I want from you. This is what I want you to tell me in the next 2 months. And then if you don't, and they reasonably think their investment has gone bad, a lot of times they'll poison the well to make sure you don't get any more investment, because they know they don't want you to go to their friends and be like, this person invested in me, and I invested in this person, and then they threw away my money. Because they know you're going to those people and saying, so this person invested in me and that's why you should invest in me. It's their reputation that's on the line the moment they give you money. So they've got to head you off at the pass. The moment you take an investor, no matter how small they are, it's really important that you always give them the metrics, and sometimes you can't, and you got to tell them that. But it's really important to be upfront. But angel investors, for lack of a better term, are just rich people with a bunch of money that like to give it out to people sometimes and expect a return. Generally, the return they expect is something on the order of 10x to 20x. But they also expect to lose on 80% of the bets they make. So
That makes sense. So it's like playing the stock market with emerging enterprise.
yeah, exactly. Angel investors will invest in anywhere from 30 to 60 companies at a time. Venture capitalists will invest in between 10 and 20 companies at a time. But the important thing to note with venture capitalists, they see probably 5 to 10x the deal flow. The number of companies that come to them is probably, they have about a 2% investment rate for the companies that they talk to. So you can never go to a VC and be like, you're going to invest in me right now, and this is the reason why. Actually, you should be like that, but realize that they will likely say no, and it probably has nothing to do with how well you pitched or how solid your business idea was. It could just be that they have another business they've already invested in that's similar. But I digress. On to the problem statement. Is the problem the company trying to solve clearly stated? Are they solving a real problem within the existing market? All of these you'll be judged from a 1 to 5. Solution. Does the team demonstrate that their solution has value? Does the solution solve the stated problem? Do they have a prototype for their product or service? Now, where are we here? If we were to look at this from the hero's journey, where you have limited awareness of problem, increased awareness of the need for change, fear, resistance to change, overcoming fear, committing to change. What are you doing? Where are we now with this? We've had our problem, solution. We're at 2. You're at the increased awareness to change. You need to know what it is you need to change. You've realized there's a problem. You've come up with a solution. You're going to move forward. And the important parts here, be very clear. Be concise, but be clear. So with your problem, say it really straightforward. If they ask you any questions, you're going to have 4 minutes to pitch your entire business idea. If they ask you any questions, just answer them straightforward. If you don't have the answer, say, I don't have that information for you right now. Let me look it up later. Don't make stuff up. Just be very clear, very concise. Problem, solution. Target market. This is the part where all that research that we did with Mike, this is the part where that comes in handy. So from a target market standpoint, who's actually looking for the solution? Do you demonstrate within a reasonable sphere what the solution is? And you can say that quickly, you can say that concisely. Competitive landscape, more research. So this is who else is out there trying to solve this problem? And why are they different, or why are you different? What kind of unique benefit do you provide within the sphere that they don't? Funding. How much does it cost? What do you need? What are you going to use it for? That goes funding and milestones. You can think of those as the exact same thing. Your funding should be tied to goals. They give you X, you will return them Y. So make sure that when you're structuring your pitches, you state those two things in almost the same breath. You'll see that in just a second. And then obviously team and key roles. So who's on your team? What do they do? Are they valuable to the team as a whole? And why? Now, we are going to do, if I can find it here. Alrighty. So, as most of you know, or all of you know, I had a business right before this. We failed miserably. And by miserably, I mean we just weren't able to raise the money we needed to get through. And most of that was a timing issue. So it was 3D printing, and our goal was basically to change the way people make things. But the reality was the technology didn't exist then. It will exist 2 years from now. So this would be viable 2 years from now. But for all intents and purposes, it was not. Now, this may be a little clunky on the slide change, but I'm going to try to go through this as if I were pitching an actual investor. All right, welcome everyone. My name is James McArthur. I'm the CEO of FormTap 3D. We are a company that is looking to test, manufacture, and produce designers' ideas to make sure that they have the ability to focus on what they do best and turn their passion into profit. So who is our team? Team is myself, James McArthur. I have a history of creating sales, marketing, and revenue channels for companies ranging from MakerBot to UBS Financial Services. I have my two co-founders, Victor Jandal, a designer from Sweden. He's probably best known for the Free Vodka campaign as a part of his work with Absolut. He also has designed almost every single one of the cartons you get when you go to Whole Foods and get one of those takeaway meals. And my other partner, Peter Raganetti, with thousands of patents, 100% dedicated to production and bringing real products to market. Together, we create a team that spans creative, production, and sales capabilities and are capable of weathering almost any storm that could happen within the market. So what is the problem? Well, simple answer is manufacturing is expensive. If you were to go out there in the market today and try to produce even the smallest product, even a phone case, at a minimum, you would be spending $100,000 to get that product to market. With 3D printing, I can do it for 12. We're reinventing the way people discover new products by categorizing and structuring products based on their functionality. We're going to make it so that people can find the exact product for them because we are entering an age of mass customization. We have a market where everybody here, you've probably heard of Quirky. You've probably heard of a few other companies. Those companies scaled too quickly. What we're going to do, we're going to build from the bottom up. We're going to be profitable from our first product. Now, why do we need to raise money if we're going to be profitable for our first product? Because when we have proof of concept, we're going to scale. And that's the other part of this, which our sales margins are largely misunderstood. That's where my experience working within channel sales and product distribution are going to come in handy because I know how to structure a deal to make money in this market. I know how to build products and I know how to sell them. So what does FormTap do? We take designer to scale. So we sell a single product until we know it'll work. Yes, the designer makes money from day one. But once we have market validation, that's where we make real money because that's when we go to mass production. That's where we spend the $100,000 to get something produced and start selling it at volume. Now, we have a revenue breakdown here. 60% goes to us, 30% go to designers, and 10% go to education. Now, the important thing for any design community is creating the education for other designers to come up and learn. Our whole goal is to inspire the next generation of designers to create great products. And so that's what we're doing with that extra spend. So why are we doing this now? Because on-demand manufacturing is finally a viable solution. The tools now exist for product discovery to actually happen, for customers to find the perfect product for them. And at no other point in history, Amazon has proven that customers want the product specifically tailored to them. So, what is our 5-year revenue model? It's simple. We're going to start small. We're going to have only a few products available. We're going to prove their viability, get them into market, and then scale. And once we're scaling, we're going to use the revenue from all of those mass-produced products. In reality, we only need one to be successful. We're going to use those to feed back and fund the next generation of designers. We are not going to be pulling money out of this company for at least 5 years. The reason for that is that we're going to be constantly reinvesting in our success, which is also going to come in the form of our community strategy. We're going to be linking with local universities, local communities. We're going to be building out competition, events, all of those things to make sure that we are as successful as possible in recruiting new designers and maintaining a constant stream pipeline of product. Now, this is a lot of numbers. I know that. But the reality is we can make profit at every stage. Even at 100 units, we're going to make $400 profit. And this is for just a typical product that we would produce. But we know what the scale is. Part of our team's dynamic is that we're comfortable with scale, we are comfortable with production, we are comfortable with making these ideas happen. And the opportunity is almost endless. You think about this from the manufacturing market, the $1.2 trillion manufacturing market. Right now, there is $300 billion worth of independent manufacturing that we could supplant with this model. Now, competitive landscape, there are a few people that have done this. Shapeways, Kickerland, Other, and Quirky. Quirky is relaunching this July, and by that I mean it relaunched last July, but this is when I was giving this pitch. Quirky, relaunching this July, they just build products. Other does the on-demand side of what we do. Shapeways is a marketplace designed for on-demand markets. Kickerland, they produce products. Nobody has the breadth that we're bringing it to the market. Nobody has the pipeline. Nobody proves value before they take to market. And we've had success before. Flex 3D. We know how to make something successful, and we know how to scale it. Now, what are we looking for this early stage? 500,000. This will enable us to launch 2 to 4 products to the full market, and this is just our first stage. Once we've taken this, we're going to take another round, and we only plan to raise to Series A, and that'll bring us to a total of $16 million in revenue, at which point we will become wholly profitable at any scale. Now we're going to use this money to build a development team, build a product and manufacturing team, and build out our sales force so that we can continue to scale our revenue as well as our production capabilities as we grow. This is what you can expect from us in the next 6 months. We're going to start small. We're going to make sure we're going the right direction before we pivot and go to mass scale. We're going to get 1 product into the market, just 1. Then we'll go 2, 3, 4. Long term, we want to have over 500 designs, 500 products in the market. And then past that, over 1,000 designers on the platform, constant stream of new products, and an education platform where we are constantly gaining new designers out of universities. New designers mean new products means new profit. So I'm James McArthur, FormTap, and I look forward to talking to you more and hearing your questions. All right. I'm sorry I had to look over at it. I had not given this presentation for a very long time, so.
Can we ask you questions?
Go for it.
Anyone have any questions after hearing this?
Yeah.
What's your typical product you're producing?
So we're starting small. We're starting with some of the simple things you'd use around the home. So our first product is actually a bar set that was designed to be more ergonomic and more stylish in a way that typical home bar sets are not.
How are you able to quantify the amount of money you can generate? Because that each, it's 3D printing your service.
Yep.
Each part is complex. Like you don't even know how these designs are gonna look or be, and how long they'll take. The time it takes to print. How can you quantify the amount of money you're going to generate from that?
So 3D printing is one of those production methods where you actually just need to know the general volume. So we're going to have a limit on size initially for all of our products. So we know within a general set what the volume of said products are going to be. So we'll actually always know within a good ballpark of what that product's going to cost to make. And with 3D printing, the complexity doesn't necessarily matter. So the more complex it is, it doesn't add to our costs. Yeah?
Since you're 3D printing, would that mean that your products will be limited to like only plastics? Plastic?
With current technology, yes. And but again, these are all proof of concept products. So these are not necessarily going to be the final products. And once we do release the final products, anyone who bought the proof of concept, which will be a higher price, anyone who bought that proof of concept is going to get the final product for free.
How many times you have presented this before to like other people? Say, I know what was their feedback?
I did this 17 times. Yeah, to people with money. And the feedback was almost always that they didn't believe in the technology, that they had all lost money in 3D printing, and that they did not think that 3D printing would cycle back around.
So when you received all this feedback, how do you, I'm interested in your internal dialogue, like how do you process the feedback other people give you while you are process your project?
So the very simple way is you're going to receive, once you put yourself out there, you're going to receive some really good feedback and some really awful feedback. And it's going to be basically 10 to 1, terrible to good. And the reality is you just take all of it in, know what everybody said, and then research and catalog it later. That's that part of the hero's journey we were talking about before, where it's everything goes wrong. Like in the movie, all your friends die. In this, it's you have a moment where you need to say, all right, is this valuable? Is this something that's viable? And test, does that feedback make sense? So in my mind, I said, is the 3D printing market there? And I said, you know what? It is. I just need to. It isn't right now, but I just need to find the right investor who believes in this idea. And I found the right investor. They were just like, well, I don't want to be first. And that's the other trick. You got to find somebody who's willing to be first. First investor is the person who puts their name on your product. They are forever tied to the success or failure of your company. First investor is the most important one. So for me, it was just we couldn't find a first investor and we ran out of money before we could. Yeah?
What I really appreciated that I'm just observing, like even in this like demonstration, is that these guys actually asked you really tough questions, and there's even like a confrontational tone, which I don't think would probably happen with judges, but might. And the way you are just completely non-defensive.
Yeah.
I think that that's, did you pick up on? So I actually appreciate that you guys challenged him like that, because you really did a great job role modeling how to keep your cool, and to like, even if they're coming at you in an adversarial way, you didn't interpret it as like they're adversaries. You talked to them as if you're talking to someone who's on your side.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
So we've all heard the adage, kill them with kindness, right? No matter how somebody comes at you, no matter how somebody presents to you, I have had somebody look at me and say, you're stupid in a room. You're stupid for thinking that. And I responded back, this obviously isn't for everyone. But I think with the right touch in the market, all we need is that one success. All we need is that one, and this model proves itself, and then we're off to the races. And then you're going to be sad that you didn't get in on it.
Can I say one piece about emotional intelligence based on, do you guys know, like, if someone literally says that to you, even if you are, like, maybe haven't fully thought out your comment, if someone literally says to you, you're stupid, what does that tell you about the person? Does that tell you more about you or the person who's saying it, right? I just have to say that just from a clinical psych perspective and just in an emotional intelligence perspective, anyone who's that, like degrading of you, it says way more about them. It has nothing to do with you, right?
And
even if what you said was stupid, the fact that someone has that low social IQ to be able to like come at you like that says more about them, and you can depersonalize it by having that awareness.
yeah, and be honest with yourself. Like, you're going to get this. You're going to walk. If you do this, you're going to walk into a room and have somebody look at you and tell you you're dumb. The first speaker we had up here, does everybody remember her from Racia? Abigail? She is an electrical engineer. She's also a psychologist, but she's an electrical engineer. She had a VC check her fingernails because he did not believe that she built the product.
That's condescending.
It's awful. He was like, I don't believe you built this. He checked her fingernails. And she was like, thank God I chipped my fingernail the day before. But the reality was, that's the kind of thing that will happen. This is not a market that is, you succeed here if you keep your calm, you're polite, you're nice. They will respect you forever. It does not matter what they say to you. Be nice, be calm. Always know that no matter what happens, you have the floor. Like, you're doing something that nobody does.
So let's look through these. James hit on these in his mock presentation. But let's think right now, if you guys have any questions about how you might want to do this or any suggestions, now's a great opportunity to ask. Okay, and then I'm going to go over the second page, which is about the presentation with you.
Some might say this is your last opportunity to ask.
May I ask one more question about the presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said you needed 500,000 to start the company.
Yeah.
If it was so profitable early on, like you made it seem, why can't you go for less and then prove that this concept works to convince other investors? Just curious.
So that you're 100% right, and that was actually a misstep on my part, very early on. So one of the things that you need to realize is getting that first product out there was much more important. I was saying, I'm going to build a development team, I'm going to hire a bunch of people, when I didn't need to do that. Like, a very key part of this is being realistic. And the moment you aren't, they're going to pick up on that. And so for you, go in there and be like, look, this is how I'm going to prove it, and then I'm going to raise the money. So realistically, because the sad thing is, once you say a number, you can never go down. The first time you say a number is the last time you're ever able to say a number that low again. And I started here, which was bad. Yeah.
Should the teams be asking for the first prize amount of money in their presentation that they're going to do in April, or should they pick a amount that they're going to ask based on how much it's going to cost for them to get their product or get to the next step in their business?
You need to ask for the amount of money it will take for you to build your proof of concept. Only that amount, not more. Don't say, I want to start eating at a better restaurant for 3 nights a week. Like, don't say, I'm going to pay myself in the next 6 months. None of that. Only the amount of money you need to make this successful. If you don't need money to make this successful and you're just doing it because you want to make great connections, you want an advisor, pitch for an advisor. Like, if you don't need money, don't ask for money.
Ask for resources.
Ask for resources. If you do need money, and again, the best way to get money is to ask for help. So sometimes you'll ask for resources and you'll get money. That happened to one of my friends. I'm still kind of pissed off about that. But like, you just ask for the exact amount of money. The money, if you do this right, the money will come later. The business I'm in currently, we made $8 million in profit last year. Guess how much investment capital went into starting this business? Anyone? $10,000.
Wow.
It has been 5 years since this business launched.
So what is that return?
Great. And I'm not even going to tell you what what we're on track for this year because I'm on a camera.
Wait, one more question about the presentation. You told us that like one of the reasons that investors didn't invest was because they didn't believe in 3D technology. But you already had like customers, like, so why didn't you show like a picture of like one of the 3D printed parts to like, you know, to convince one of the investors?
Because I had them on me.
Oh,
Okay.
because what?
I had the product on me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I brought it. The bag I carry, I had all the products inside the bag, and I carried them with me. The problem with that is that when they look at it, if you bring the physical product with you, and they look at it and they don't like it, you lost. You already lost.
Does that mean they don't like the product itself or the manufacturing method? Like, do you mean they don't like the shape, or like that has actually nothing to do with you?
Think about a company you don't like, personally. All of you. Think of a company you don't like. Why don't you like that company? There are probably a myriad of reasons. And you cannot control the way somebody else thinks about what you're doing. You can never control it. They may not like the way you present it. They may not like the opportunity available. They may not like the product. They may not know enough about the product. I had one investor who was like, I would love to do this, but all of my money's focused on blockchain right now. Come back to me next year. And this was one of the people who'd invested very early on in MakerBot. So you just may be the wrong timing. Like, the whole thing is there are a whole host of things that need to line up for this to work, but the reality is that person could be anything. Some of them, it was that number. Some of them, it was the 3D printing. Some of them, it was the timing. Some of them said, come back to me in 3 years. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about having like a prototype versus having like images on and like the benefits of that for them, even though you mentioned like if they don't like it, they might not like it, but.
So how many times have you guys seen somebody walk up to you and they go, I'm planning on starting something, and then never started it? How often does that happen? 90% of the time?
All the time.
If you have a physical product with you, it means you built something. It is a validation of what you have done. Whether they like that validation or they don't, doesn't matter. But having something physical with you says you've built it.
What if it's like a travel app or a webisode thing that you can't physically represent like that? How can you represent it another way?
So I will throw that back to you and say, as an actor, how did you know somebody was real coming to you for a part? It's that they had a script with them. It's that they had people behind them. It's that they had people backing them. If you have a webisode, if you have something creative, have a script, have a wireframe. If it's an app, have the app mapped out, have the UX mapped out. Go into Canva and just create something. It's free. It's not hard to use. Or go in Photoshop and map out, or you can build it. I built an entirely functional version of the FormTap 3D website in PowerPoint. If you need to do that, go ahead. I don't recommend it as a positive use of your time, because I did it and it was like 200 hours of work for not that much benefit. But the reality is you just have something with you, and that validation, the idea of you made something, is a tangible object. The moment you say, oh, I'm planning on doing this, this, and this, people are going to go, okay, and then the moment you've done it, they go, okay, now I'll help.
So do you guys understand how you're going to organize your pitch deck? Does everyone here have an understanding? Or do you have a question about that? For example, if I know that this is the criteria, would I structure my slides to kind of equate to these measurements?
Yes. Yes. The rubric for the pitch competition was created with the idea of that's how your presentation should flow. So when you're presenting to people, you want them to be going down. You want them to be thinking through, what is that problem statement? All right, what are they trying to solve? You need a hook. It's like when you listen to a new song, what gets you into the song? It's probably not the words, honestly. Generally, it's the melody and it's the hook within that song. Your presentation needs to have a hook, and that's your problem statement. Get that in there at the front. What's the problem you're solving? Then move into, all right, how are you solving it? What are the steps to do it? Why now? Why now is very important. Why is now the right time to build this product? And again, product, broadest sense of the word ever. Anyone else? Yeah.
If I want to talk about the
what should I show on the PowerPoint? Because like I'm telling the story, should I have some like other visual representation of it? Would that be distracting? Because your PowerPoint to me looks really technical and has all of the facts and details you need to know. But if I want to do approaches for a different way, will that be appropriate for this context?
So I'm gonna reframe this in a 15-second pitch. How many of you know someone who's created a product that has failed? How many of you know someone who started a business and it failed? What if they never had to do that again? What if no product ever failed again? With FormTap, we test, manufacture, and distribute your ideas. We make them real in a way where you never have to worry about failure or the logistics. You just do what you love. We take care of everything else. So from that standpoint, I'm making them tell the story in their head of what's happening. Does anybody here listen to podcasts? What is interesting about podcasts? The visuals happen in your head. And that's very addictive. So it's putting things in your terms, which is what you should be doing for the audience in one way or another. So this was a very technical presentation. This was a presentation I gave to VCs who had been part of 3D printing for a very long time and were generally engineers. Now, the pitch I just gave you guys, that was something I would say to groups of creatives. Contextualize what you're doing for your audience. And so if you think your story will help tell that, will put them into your shoes so that they see the problem from your angle, by all means, do it. If you test it out once or twice on your friends and they're like, you know what, maybe it doesn't work, and please test this out once or twice on your friends before you walk in there on April 14th. If that doesn't work, then say, all right, well, maybe restructure. Other questions? How would you guys rate me on a 1 to 5 based on all this stuff?
5.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
I was just wondering this. You said it was 4 minutes, but was this presentation you gave then, was that actually longer?
This was longer.
How long is a real pitch, I guess, officially, like in some platforms, how long?
The reality is, if they don't like what you're saying, they're going to start asking questions here. They will cut you off and start asking questions there. But that is in general, that was about, when I was well rehearsed on this, that would be about 2.5 minutes to there. So this was a little bit more meandering because I hadn't done it in a while, but yeah.
So the rest of the slides used more to kind of reinforce the story you've told and the questions they ask.
Yeah, so this is once I get here and they start asking questions about revenue model, all of those answers are down here. Like, how am I marketing this? How am I doing that? Like, that's all here.
So they should time their presentations for the 4 minutes, but they can have extra slides for things they might not have time to address in their main presentations that might be asked questions for.
Exactly. Time yourself in the mirror. Walk around doing nothing but talking in your phone. I know I've said to do this a number of times. Please do it. Just walk around talking into your phone. You're going to look like a nut job. I actually recorded a podcast on the streets of Brooklyn the other day, and I had so many people looking at me really oddly as I was like, so when you decided to kill off your main character, what happened then? And I had all these people looking at me going like, why are you talking about killing people in the middle of the street? But the reality was I was doing a podcast while I was walking along, and I have 3 softwares on my phone that'll mix out all the road noise. But like, just do it for you. Figure out what you need to do, rehearse, practice, get yourself to that 4 minutes, be able to tell your entire story in 2 minutes, write it to the rubric. I really don't care how you do it, just be able to tell that story. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that in terms of your presentation alone, I really liked it a lot. It's very clear. Your words and expressing everything you felt is clear. But in the presentation, the graphics, those pictures, the little toy car and all that stuff, are those products that you were thinking of?
Yeah. Yeah, so it was subtly set up so that there's the bar set, car, cars, all the products. Like, it's subtly set up so that they're constantly seeing product as I'm going. And so then when I actually hand them the products, they're like, oh, okay, these were the products. Again, none of this worked, but like this is the kind of thought process. An investor helped me build this presentation. The one who was like, I would love to do this, but I'm in blockchain. Like, that's gone really well, but neither.
Any other questions, guys, about the concept
Yeah.
before we get to the performative part?
So we have 4 minutes
Yep.
for the total pitch. What should we focus on mainly? Because this is like when we see your presentation, it's longer and all the points are in there. But what would you say, like, don't miss these 3 in the 4 minutes that you have, and then you can just leave these.
Problem, solution, why, and how. Like, why are you doing this? How are you planning on doing it? Basically, that's it. Get those 2 things across, and you will be successful. Almost nothing else matters. Just know why you're doing it, and then how you are going to do it and how you're going to be successful at it. Like, why are you doing this? Who else identifies with that? Why do they identify with it? That's all that matters when it comes to a 4-minute pitch. 4 minutes, you're not going to be able to tell your life story. Don't tell your life story. It's 4 minutes, you're not going to be able to talk through everything you want to. Your heart's going to be screaming to talk about a bunch of stuff. Just focus on the how and the what and the why. Basically, like, what are you building? Why are you building it? And how are you building it? Yeah.
Do we have more time for a prototype or something? Like, after the 4 minutes, will we have time to let people try something? Or
They'll ask you questions. So when you need to make the decision as to whether you're going to hand them your prototype when you start, which I don't recommend, or after, when they're asking questions.
Okay.
Because if you hand them the prototype before, what if I handed you a cell phone right before I started talking to you?
I wouldn't be paying attention to you.
Right. You have 4 minutes. They're going to spend 1 minute fiddling with that, at which point they missed your problem statement and everything else. All right, let's exit out of the dead company.
Do you see any possibility of that coming back?
Eventually, the company I'm with now is close enough where I feel very good about it. We were founded with the idea that all independent creatives deserve the right to turn their passion into profit. And the team is awesome. So like our founder founded collegehumor.com, Vimeo, and Busted Tees. So he's just a fantastic human that has done amazing things, and it's amazing learning from him. So yeah, eventually maybe this will come back, but the reality is when it does, I will have enough new experience where it's going to be better, faster, And hopefully I'll have enough money where I can just self-fund it and do that.
Thank you.
I can't clap for myself. I don't know why I did, but thank you for judging me.